wonderful because you see the parallel between Einstein's insight and the ancient Kabbalist insight, which is not exactly the same. It's not exactly point for point, but yet nefesh is the spirit that animates the body. In other words,
matter, right.
nefesh is the Untitled B'Haalotkha here with Sefat Emet. If you'd like to follow the text, it is on sefaria.org. You can go to the end of the video, and that's where the instructions of how to find the text on Sefaria are going to be cut and pasted there.
As we move forward through time and space, we're going to be talking about time and space today. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Einstein's theories about time, space, and matter,
Right.
all working with each other. We're going to do the spiritual aspect of that, called time, space, and spirit or soul. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me quickly get us in context. So in this week's Torah portion, the first topic actually is instructing Aharon, the chief priest, the Kohen, how and what his job is in the morning to take care of lighting the candelabra, the seven branch, menorah, and not the 8 one that we have on Hanukkah, but the real one with 7, and it's a whole thing over there. Immediately after that, we are taught about the inauguration proceedings of the Levite, the Levy, from which the Kohanim actually come from. But in general, the tribe of Levi was separated in many ways from the rest of the tribes for a particular service to work in the Mishkan and the Tabernacle, and later on in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. And they had specific jobs that they did there. One of them, which we're going to be dealing with, was accompanying the service with playing of instruments and singing of songs. Each day had its own particular song. Without further ado, we're going to get right into the Midrash. Is going to take the first 3 words of this verse. Kach es haLevim. Moses, take the Leviim and separate them out from the rest of the Jewish people and inaugurate them into the special service of the temple.
Okay, let's do it then. So this is Midrash Rabbah, chapter 15, and it's a commentary on that's where the Sefat Emet begins, and it goes like this: Midrash Kach et haLevim. So the Midrash is commenting on the verse from our Parsha, the first few lines of the Parsha. Kach et haLevim, take the Levites. This is the initiation of the Levites. Hama nimin haya bekino. So the Midrash says, how many strings were on a lyre or a harp, whatever, because that the Levim, that was their job to play it, right? So how many strings did it have? So the Midrash says, Achino Sheva, there were 7 strings, and this parallels the 7 branches of the menorah that, was just mentioned. But the Midrash continues, V'limota Mashiach chet, but in the days of the Messiah, when the Messiah comes, the lyre will have 8 strings. V'la'atid, in the future, in the the end of days, Banever Asor, there will be 10 strings.
This piece is so packed. I mean, the Sfas Emes is normally packed, but this piece is so packed you could spend a 2-hour shiur on like every sentence almost. But I just want to mention that these 3 periods of time, the present time, then we have something called Yemot HaMashiach, the days of the Messiah, and then we have something called La'atid Lavo, the world to come,
Right.
and then we have something called Olam Haba. And there's great confusion amongst the commentators, the classic commentators, Rambam and Ramban, the Maimonides, Nachmanides, about what all these things mean. Is it heaven? Is it afterlife? Is it life here, during, after? The main point of the Midrash is that each tekufa, each period in human history and experience is represented by the instrument having 7, 8, and 10 strings.
Right. And I
So
think it also says that a different song, right? Is that, well, we'll see. I think
we'll see how the songs fit in, but
yeah,
he's going to begin with the aspect of song and relating it to, in our human experience, the aspect of time.
yeah. Okay. So, Ki Hashira Talia Bazman. Why the Sefat Emet says, why is it so that, or what do we learn from this? We learn that the song of the Levites, it depends on time or changes over time.
Right? And in addition, music itself is related to time. Music work, it's very interesting. Music, very briefly, if you're looking at a painting, you exist with a painting for in that
Right.
space.
The painting doesn't change. Yeah.
The paint, but music moves.
Yes.
Music moves within time.
Yeah.
It's very integral with time,
It evolves, you could say,
through
right?
through time, and it's an
Yeah.
experience that moves past you in a sense.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
listening to a song. It go. Of course, the song as a whole stays with you, but
Right.
music. So music, the service of the Levy, playing the musical instrument, is related to time,
Yeah.
and as he'll develop further,
Yeah.
more aspects of that.
Yeah. Well, let's look at that. ולכן בכל יום יש שיר אחר. And that's why every day there's a different song. כי ההתחדשות שיש בכל יום נותן השירה, because the renewal of every day gives that song. It's almost like the song is derived from the newness of the day, or the song reverberates, you could say, relates to what each new day provides. כמו שאמרו ז"ל, as taught our the sages, may the memory be a blessing, כי השמש אומרת שירה, because the sun is singing a song, and they bring that from we'll see in a moment. This is beautiful. וזורחת עיין שם בפסוק שמש בגבעון דום. So they're bringing a quote from the book of Joshua, where Joshua tells the sun to stop moving in the sky, and the Midrash expands on that and says, well, why did Joshua not say? Did Joshua ordered the sun to stop? That was a miracle that Joshua performed, but Joshua didn't say to the sun, stop moving, but used different language. He didn't say amod, which would be stop, or atzor, which would be stop. It said dom. Dom means be silent, right? So the Midrash is going into that the word that the Torah uses there, that Joshua says to the sun, be silent. And what does that mean? Because the sun is singing. The sun has a song, but the sun is praising God, according to the Midrash. So that's the whole connection here to the sun. But obviously, sun is also what marks time, right? So this is a connection between time and song. כי בכל יום יש הערה אחרת. Because every day there is a different. So why is it so that every day there's a new song, etc.? So every day there's a different light. Kedeita b'shem Arizal, as the holy Ari, Rabbi Isaac Luria teaches, a great Kabbalist, ki ein kol yom domeh lechavero mibriat haolam. So the Ari teaches that there's no one day that's exactly like the other since the beginning of the world. Think about that. That since the beginning of the world, billions of days. I don't know, and no day is exactly the same. Even though the sun revolves and it's always the same 24 hours, more or less, right? No day is the same according to the Kabbalah.
That's right, because the sun, which rises and sets, providing and comes up again,
Yeah,
is moving through time. So the next day it's here. That becomes the past. This becomes the present. So
right.
the spiritual energy of each day is renewed, and
Renewed and
really of every moment, actually.
right, right. So it's renewed and unique. Um, ונראה דלוויים מיוחדים לבחינת הזמן. And from here we learn that the Levites, the tribe of Levy, had a unique function that related to the dimension of time. Yesh Gimel Bchinot Olam Shana V'Nefesh, and here he's reminding us what you already said, Rebbe, is that the world, according to Chassidut, the world has three dimensions: the dimension of space, Olam, the dimension of time, Shana, and the dimension of the soul, Nefesh, soul or spirit. And so according to this analysis and all this framing, the Levim had a special function that had to do specifically with dimension of time. He's going to show that the Kohanim had the dimension of the spirit, was the Kohanim. Yeah. וצריך כל אדם בפרט, each person individually needs to, ומכל שכן כלל ישראל, and so much more so the collective of Israel, or all of Israel, לתקן המקום והזמן שמיוחד לו. They need to be repairing or correcting those dimensions of space and time that are specific to each person's spirit. שמיוחד לו בתיקון נפשו.
Right. And this is the key to the whole piece. And it's very interesting. I mentioned before about Einstein, who didn't just say there was space, time, and matter. He said that they're interrelated with each other. In other words, space and time tell matter how to move, and matter tells space and time how to curve. So he's saying that we, the Nefesh, who represent Nefesh, interesting, matter is replaced with spirit in the Zohar, in the Kabbalah, that we as Nefesh have a responsibility and obligation to do the dance with space and time and to set it in the proper balance.
No, but this is beautiful because you see the parallel between Einstein's insight and the ancient Kabbalist insight, which is not exactly the same. It's not exactly point for point, but yet Nefesh is the spirit that animates the body. In other words, Nefesh is so that's where you have the matter. It's sort of matter and biology are parallel here, right? And this is mind-blowing. I love what you're saying because so we're not just victims of space and time, but we affect because of the harmony, the function of space and time. And so instead that way, it's purposeful. We are purposeful, says the Sefat Emet here.
Correct. Yeah. And we're interrelated. Everything is interrelated.
ובני ישראל תיקנו המקום בכוח ארץ ישראל. So the people of Israel, they're correcting or rectifying is another way of, the tikkun, right? The fixing, the dimension of space through the potential of Eretz Israel, the Holy Land, basically the land of Israel. So the land of Israel represents.
I thought the Levium were starting to play by you.
To play, right? That was the digital Levy.
Through space and time, and time, they got to.
It's exactly. Case in point, right?
Yeah.
Leave it to the smartphone. You get everything.
It's a little bit too. In Yiddish, they say Ibra Chacham, a little bit too smart.
So
Right.
anyway, so Bnei Israel tiknu makom b'kol Eretz Yisrael. So in the potential in the relationship with Eretz Israel, with the Holy Land, so that represents the dimension of space. ולכן נתחלק להם הארץ ולשבט לוי לא היה חלק. And that's why when the land of Israel was divided among all the tribes, the Levites do not get their own region. They depend on all the others. The Levites are scattered amongst the rest of the tribes. Very interesting. So you see that the Levites, they're not plugged into the work, the spiritual correction that happens in the dimension of space.
No, the
No,
Levim are time. They represent time, so they're not dealing with space. They're above it. They transcend space, just like music. Well,
yeah,
this is mind blowing.
yeah, there you have it. They're on another level. And just
Right.
to acknowledge the Sefat Emet, tongue in cheek, he's smarter than a smartphone. That's for sure. We'll
Yeah,
give him that, right?
we'll give them that much.
So where was I? Okay,
L'shevet Levi lo haya chelik.
so the tribe of Levi did not have their own region in the land of Israel because they were designated for, as we will see, for the dimension of time. והלוויים מוכנים לתקן בחינת שנה, לכן הלוויים נפסלים בשנים ולא במומים. So the Levites are designated and ready, or made ready, to do the spiritual correction in the dimension of time, b'chinat shana. And he's going to prove that by bringing a proof text from actually the Gemara. And he says, L'chen alevim nifsalim b'shanim v'lo b'mumim. That's why the Levite are become ineligible for service on the basis of timing, meaning their age, and not as the Kohanim, the priests, were on the basis of the integrity of their body. As it says in the Mishnah, kasher b'kohanim, pasul b'leviim. What's he's beginning a quote, a longer quote, where the Mishnah explains that the priests are their eligibility, their kashrut eligibility is depends on the integrity of their body, but with the Levim it doesn't matter. They can be, they have blemishes in their bodies, but they are judged for eligibility completely based on a different framework, which is their age. So after the age of 20, then and then not later than the age of 50, I believe. So that we don't want to get into that. The point is that the Levim are here is another proof text, another way that we see that all their essence is all about time, all about the dimension of time.
And the Kohanim, the nefesh, related to the embodiment of nefesh, so their bodies had to look a certain way, meet certain requirements and standards, because the Kohanim were involved with the aspect of nefesh, of spirit.
That's right. And this is a beautiful piece for all of those out there who are somatic workers, somatic like therapy, sort of work with the integration of body and spirit. This is what the priests are. They are the integration of body and spirit. The body mirrors the spirit mirrors the body, so you have that whole approach, you can say is expressed by the role and the essence of the priesthood and all the rules around it. והכהן מיוחד לבחינת נפש, and here he tells us, and the priests, the Kohanim, they were uniquely designated for making the tikkun in the dimension of the spirit, body spirit. לכן צריך שלא יהיה בו מום. That's why it was essential that their bodies are whole, that they don't have blemishes. ואין נפסל בשנים, so so the dimension of time in terms of their eligibility to serve is irrelevant. So in other words, once a Kohen is born, a Kohen is a Kohen from the moment he is born till the time he dies. There is no age limitation on service.
Right. And I want to apologize to all our viewers and listeners. This morning I'm going to unfortunately excuse myself for this time, and I leave it to Rebbe Reuven to take it on home, and I'll see all you guys, God willing, next week.
Okay, Eddie.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, see you later. Shalom. So we continue. ולכן טליה השיר בבחינת הזמן. And now the Sefat Emet will kind of tie all these together and say, this is why the song is interconnected with the dimension of time. So just to wrap this up, why? Because the Levites were this was their role in the temple. They're responsible for the music, the accompaniments, and the singing of prayers and psalms, and we can see through all that we just explained that the song is intricately intertwined with the dimension of time. ולימות המשיח וכן לעתיד, יש שינוי בזמן וישתנה השיר. And in the days of the Messianic days and then the period of time after that, the what's called La'atid Lavo, or the end of days, which is in Jewish, in our tradition, it's a time of redemption. In other words, that is a time where the spiritual correction, the work is complete, and the world and the experience and life experience comes into its fullness. Yesh shinui bazman v'yishtaneh hashir. There will be a change in the dimension of time, and the song too will be different, which is interesting. That there's going to be a change in the dimension of time. It may be the case that the dimension of time will no longer exist. That will be a time that would be the end of future. In other words, time will come to its conclusion, and there will be just the moment or just the timelessness. The song for that Zeitgeist, that being, will be a different song. וכמו כן, Shabbat, מעין העולם הבא. And now the Sefat Emet is going to wrap this up. So what is, in our tradition, what is the symbolic, you could say, embodiment, or the practice that gives us the taste of that? Now listen to the paradoxical, contradicting terms. The time of timelessness, right? But what is? Where can we taste? Where can we dip into that future? No future. That is Shabbat. Shabbat me'ein ha'olam haba. The sages teach us that Shabbat is as if a piece, a sampling of the world to come. Lachen mizmor shir liyom HaShabbat. That is why in the famous psalm for the Sabbath, mizmor shir liyom HaShabbat, chetiv bei alei asor. That is why it says alei asor ve'alei nevel, that we will then be playing the in that time, we're going to be playing the 10-string lute. And the 10-string lute, as we have learned, is the lute for the special song for the world to come. Shabbat hu b'chinat shir hashirim. And the Sabbath is as if an aspect of the Song of Songs. Now, the Song of Songs is the book, obviously the famous Megillah, the famous scroll of the Song of Songs that's traditionally read on Shabbat, especially in the Sephardi community, as part of the Kabbalah Shabbat. It's a Friday night. So Shabbat, this is a whole new understanding of what the Song of Song means. It's not just that particular, the chapters of this Song of Song, which is a erotic love poetry, which talks about this ecstatic joining of the feminine and the masculine, the end of duality, the union of the feminine masculine aspects. As we pray, it's the union of the Shekhinah and the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be. So it's you could say, the masculine aspect of the divine and the feminine aspect of the divine, according to Kabbalah, come together into a union at the end of time, or the world to come. So this is the Song of Songs, shekol השירים של ימי המעשה, של שבת היא בחינת שיר השירים שכולל כל השירים של ימי המעשה. So the song for the Sabbath is the Song of Songs, because it brings together all the songs of the days of the ordinary days, the days of action. In other words, the days of the world as we know it. So if Shabbat is the end of days, or a taste of the world to come, it's a song that embraces all the different songs of the days of creation, that each one is unique from the very first day till the very end. So may we be blessed to have that taste, have that Sabbath, and to be really agents of spiritual rectification, spiritual correcting, both in the dimensions of time, dimensions of space, and in the dimension that is particular to our nefesh, to our body spirit, as it manifests in the world in our lifetime. Amen. Please, before we part, please like and comment. Let's keep the conversation going. If you haven't yet, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you plugged in, get the notifications, come back every Wednesday at around 9 o'clock in the morning. Wishing you Shabbat Shalom. Shalom for now.
Neharais lo yushtafuha, Neharais lo yushtafuha, Neharais lo yushtafuha. Imiteni shes kol hoy vesay be'ahava. Es kol ein Nesai be'ahava, Yavuzula.
Here we go. So you open sefaria.org. On the top left, there's 3 bars. You click them to go to Sefaria Library. You scroll down to texts, click on more, bottom right corner. Then look for Chassidut in the left column. You click on Chassidut. Once you do that, you're going to scroll down to the subtitle that says Other Chassidut Works. And you scroll down, and Sefat Emet is in the center. When you're in Sefat Emet, you're going to go to the drop-down menu that's next to the top title. It says Sefat Emet Genesis Bereshit 1. You click on the drop-down menu, and that takes you to the Sefat Emet table of contents. On the left, you'll go to the book of Numbers. Then you're going to scroll down and click on B'Haalotkha, which is our parsha, and then you click on number 19. It's section number 19. And our text is the paragraph 2, B'Midrash Kach et HaLevi'im.